Yep, I can take it. Intentions just to catch up with the team and see see the progress that everyone's made with regards to respective tasks and see where we are with in terms of the sprint. In terms of distractions, just settling into being back in Brazil, and there's a few things that I need to sort out like legal wise. But apart from that, that's about it. I will pass it over to Bear.
Thank you, Joseph. Intentions for me, yeah, also get some updates on the sprint. From my side, give some updates on the compensation model work that I've been working on, and on the who we are page. And distractions, nothing at the moment. I'll just pass it on to Nate.
Yeah, thank you, Bear. Intentions are to go through the agenda items, kind of cover some new priority areas of the TEA events as I understand them. And yeah, excited to discuss the compensation model and all the work that Bear you've put into the administration of all of this. So thank you for doing that. And distractions currently, it's just early morning for me. It's been a long morning. But yeah, outside of that, I'm good. I'll pass it over to Arun, Marathon.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. Intentions, catch up with the agenda items, distractions, nothing much. We'll pass it on to Tam.
Intentions is to get into the flow of this new cadence, which I like a lot. Also to see what we have on our agenda, help in any way I can. And distractions, today I do have distractions. I am have my headphones on, but in the kitchen making some food. And I don't think I heard you go yet, Gideon.
Yeah, thanks, Tam. Intentions. Yeah, I'd really like to get into the events stuff that I had a good talk with Angela yesterday about this. I think it could be a good opportunity to bring the teams closer together, and also I think fun for us, like an opportunity to dig in and start to get more into token engineering here. So, and distractions. Had a little bit sleepless night last night, so a little bit tired, but other than that, things are good. And I will pass it to Myson. Do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, so intention, I wasn't able to be around last week, so I want to catch up. And distractions, well, life as usual, I guess. Nothing fancy. Is there anyone else, or did we all?
I think everybody went,
Mm-hmm.
so that's only me left. If if we are missing any of you guys, just speak up. But for me, intentions, um, yeah, just like Tom said, I like this new setting quite a bit, and I'm happy to have this meeting today and see and see and hear about the things that we have to chat through. Distractions, not a distraction for this specific call. I'm just a bit there's just a lot of things happening at the same time right now for me. Not bad, actually, pretty good. Just a bit overwhelmed. Um, cool, cool. All right. So, okay. Before starting, I'll just ask again: is there anything that people would like to add on the agenda, whether a big topic or a big update? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's jump right into it. So first things first, a task board check. At first, I thought that probably we would spend some time like going through the task board, but I think it's best if everyone gets sort of used to do it themselves, preferably. So I'll just use this as a reminder for everyone to go through their assigned tasks and update the status or any information, any relevant information, so that we have everything on check. I'm regularly checking the task board anyways. I'm just not sure of the exact progress on everything. Um, yeah, just that reminder. And then for quick updates, I have there a draft for a proposal I want to put up probably this week or early next week, depending on the feedback I get today, to buy wrapped staked ether. So this is something I've been bouncing for a while. Um, Especially right after the dollar stablecoin the peg on March, where we saw USDC and DAI going far below the peg, the $1 peg, which it's a complete risk to the TEC because both our token and our token reserve and our common pool are denominated in DAI. So in April, I posted like a quick temperature check just to see how people felt about buying Ether and roughly the amounts. And so I'm wanting to pose a formal proposal. The good thing is timing is really good now because there's a few incentives coming to Gnosis Chain to track liquidity for wrapped stake Ether, which means that we could get a stake Ether. So Ether with 4 point something 5% API on Gnosis Chain, so that the DAO could hold that Ether on the contracts of the DAO instead of relying on a multi-sig with a trusted setup. That's not ideal. Um, yeah, I don't want to go like too deep into the proposal. It's there if anyone wants to check it, but I guess open to any questions or comments. The specific amount is to buy 100K, which is the preferred option on the temperature check poll from April.
Do you have a working document that we can comment on?
Yeah, you can do it on the HackMD.
Okay.
That's there. I'll just post it here as well.
Oh, you posted it right next to it. Okay, sorry about
Yeah, I can add this in to that document. But one thing is how to protect against just the volatility in the price of Ether, because in one day you could have a swing that would wipe out any yield that we have in the course of a year. So having some type of strategy in there for how you actually maybe buy this over time to spread some of that, like a cost average approach or something like that. I don't know if that's in the document.
I mean, well, so because there's currently not a whole lot of liquidity in Gnosis Chain, buying 100K like on a single transaction would incur into a fair amount of slippage. So on the proposal, let me 1 second. I'll just open it and share it. On the proposal, I'm sort of putting 3 options on the table. One is to one is to do like dollar cost averaging, just like you said. Another one is to convince Carper Key to do a token swap because they're the ones pushing the efforts to onboard wrapped stake Ether, and they already hold a fair amount of it. And the other one is to bridge the XDAI to Ethereum, buy it on Ethereum because there's a lot more liquidity in there, and then bridge it back. Um, so these are the ways to do it, but overall, I think we shouldn't look at this as an investment strategy, sort of in the sense of trying to protect volatility and such. I think it's more of a long term strategy and a protection, just in case anything happens to die. If we look at it on the long term, I don't think it matters as much, the how volatile is ether, and even though it is possible, I wouldn't expect people to do proposals denominated in ether instead of DAI.
Yeah, so I just have a couple of thoughts on this, and that this is kind of the same thoughts I had when we were talking about the treasury, developing a treasury, and the big aspects of this. I'm a big fan of buying things like wrapped stake ETH or any type of yield bearing asset that will allow to generate some kind of passive yield as we're managing it as an organization. But the problem is that, in my opinion, is that if we're going through this migration process from Gnosis chain to somewhere else, that needs to be those plans need to be solidified before. Um, I mean, not before, but it will greatly benefit us to understand the process that we're going to be going through in order to manage these funds if we are to go this route. Because bridging this amount of money is not a simple task. Managing this amount of money and monitoring it is not a simple task. I think Carpet Key is probably the best option here, in terms of making sure that we get the funds that we need for the price that is, if they're willing to do it. I think it's definitely worth it. But being able to monitor this, and having people who are able to pay attention and trust the protocols that we're depending on within the Gnosis chain is going to be really, it's a reach for me. I would much rather have this all being done on the chain that we're going to end up being on, if we're going that route. But I think there's a lot of things that need to happen before this, in my opinion. That's just my thoughts on it. But I am a big supporter of diversifying and getting into to yield bearing. I just think there are a lot of tough things, and things can go wrong. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Just to quickly follow up, I think um, um, w- I think we should treat these as separate conversations. The plans to move, like they are they are as far as I know, right? They are ongoing, but at the same time, they are not definite. Maybe we don't end up moving, so we just have to act however we see fit in the moment. And I think right now, whether we move or not, diversifying is not an option. And then the overhead to, like, we would have to, in case we move, we would have to reach money anyways, and the overhead for two tokens is marginal. Like the difference between doing the process for one token or two, I don't think it's going to be much of a difference. So I'm not too worried. I'm not sure how we would do it, right? I don't have the answer, but when the time comes, we probably would find an answer that works just as fine. And the reason I think it's probably best to do it on Gnosis chain instead of Optimism, because that's the chain we want to move to. Um, it's because that's those are tokens that are going to sit in the DAO, and then we don't have to bother anyone with setting a multi-sig and being on top of signing transactions if needed or whatever. It's just there. Um, no one messes with it. At the same time, everyone that's part of the DAO has access. So like, just trying to make something that's simple enough so that we don't spend a lot of time or resources. Hey, Juanca.
Um,
Hey everyone, sorry for coming late to the call. Um, I super support this proposal. I think it's cool. I don't know if maybe at some point later in the future
we could even like use some of these ETH to also back the token at some point. Right now, I think like moving it to a multisig would be just the first step, but then I don't know if the price of ETH goes up. We can also like back the token with that. And yeah, just a quick parenthesis. Besides that, I fully support this proposal. The Graviton course is live, so yeah, if you want, share it. If you like what we talk, also enroll in the course. I'll share the link. So nothing. Thank you all.
Great, that's very good to hear. Congrats. Um, yeah, if you want to share some links here in the chat, maybe we can. Anyone that's interested to have a look or share it can do so easily. I think you were going to say something there, Hugo?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just a question also related a little bit with the like in terms of access, or kind of like the purpose of having this diversification of funding in terms of like you were saying that it's we shouldn't look at this as an investment. So how exactly are you envisioning it? Like in terms of purpose within the DAO, would that be some funding that could be used to fund like certain initiatives if people desire to do that, or is it more just to build on the yield and and treat more as a recurring long-term investment, or how would you where would you fit these funds within the whole kind of like strategy of funding diversification that the DAO has?
Yeah, well, I said we shouldn't look at it as an investment. Probably that wasn't the best way to say it. I guess more of an we shouldn't look at it as an active investment asset. I guess it's more of a long-term holding investment. Um, how I say it, I'm not sure exactly. Like, I guess that's open to the whole community. Um, I would, but generally, I would suspect that most people would prefer to make proposals denominated in DAI because it's stable. But the good thing is that first, there's the option if anyone wants to make a proposal in a stake ether, they could. It shouldn't be an issue. It's right now with Tau bonding, it's the exact same process to put up a proposal with either of the tokens. But then there's the case of if something happens to DAI, if DAI dies or whatever, we can always make use of the ether in the worst case scenario, which I think it's really important. Um, there's I don't I'm not worried about DAI per se, but MakerDAO is a complete mess right now, which is always something to look at. And then there's always the possibility that we have a similar event to what happened on March.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it would be just also cool to think about this as a piece or as an initial piece of a kind of a greater strategy, maybe going into the future. Because like questions start to arise, like for me, that for example, would it be a good idea, to set maybe some goals that we would sell some of that ETH if it reaches certain point at some point in time, right? Or like after purchasing these first 100K, are we still going to purchase more in a year or in 2 years? Kind of like thinking a little bit more long term. How does this first initial investment, quote unquote investment, fits into that kind of like bigger, greater model, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think that's fine and possible for now. I'm honestly just trying to focus on purchasing the asset. And then if we ever have some more, I just don't think that we have the capacity. If then we ever have the capacity to do that, we can probably set some more goals. Right now, as long as we have some diversification of the treasury, I think we are as good as we can be for the moment. Um, yeah, we probably should move. Is there anything else with regards to purchasing ether, stake ether? Five, four, three, two, one. Okay. Now we go into the academy's events. Maybe you want to take it, Gideon, or do you want me to say something about it?
Sure, I'll take it. I just pasted a link into the Academy's website. They have a section that's talking about that outlines their calendar. So this is a conversation that Angela and I have been having over the last few weeks. And we talked yesterday, and basically it boils down to two types of events that she'd like some help from the TEC with. And so let me just explain what those are. And then yeah, let's open it up to questions and comments and stuff. So there's basically in both cases they're online events. So this is kind of interesting because it's something that we all have talked about earlier. Well, I guess late last year, we were talking about at some point maybe doing an online conference. So this might be a nice way for us to build up some capacity on that front long term. But the two types of events are one is a kind of a recurring but ad hoc online event. So Angela has a number of ongoing events that they're running for the Academy. This is a particular type of those events where she brings in speakers to be able to talk with students, the Academy students. And so she'd like some help with managing that, with organizing that. So that's one. So the only one that is scheduled right now is, you'll see if you go to that link, but I can just tell you it's Token Engineering Careers at Tokenomia Pro. And so that's on June 8th. So that one would be a relatively easy thing. Basically, they would want our help in, they have a Zoom account with recording capabilities and transcript capabilities. And so she'd want some help just kind of like organizing that and running that actual event. That's a relatively minor one. Over time, we can talk about how this type of event would evolve over time so that we take on more and more accountability for it and have some more role in terms of setting the types of speakers and things like that, although Angela has a number of people she's got kind of queued up. So that's the first type. So these would be like kind of recurring events that the Academy would like to run for its students. And that would be, I think, pretty interesting for us as well to participate in. The second one is kind of a one-off, like it's like a one-time event that's surrounding ETHCC. So the Academy is going to be running kind of a hackathon or bar camp on the 22nd, I think. Hold on, let me pull up my notes. And of July. Yeah, so 22nd of July. And what she's interested in doing is working with us to have some lead-up events that would be online events where we do the coordination for it we do outreach for it, and then run the actual online events. So what would that look like? What would it be? So at the actual event in Paris, at the TEC, the bar camp, the way that it's going to work is it's going to be open. The agenda is open, so basically participants can come and propose their own talk or presentation that they want to make, and then the people who are attending then vote, and then the organizers, basically the organizers are the French study group of the academy, so they will then organize that and kind of pull the rest of the agenda together for the rest of the day. So what Angela's interested in is having some pre-meetings in advance, maybe 2 online, where we invite some of those presenters for Paris, for the ECC in Paris, to basically present for 10 to 15 minutes in front of students and fellow presenters. So we might run, let's say we did one towards the end of June and one maybe the first or second week of July. The idea would be that maybe we would have 3 or 4 presenters on each call, an hour-long call, and each one might have 10 to 15 minutes to present the presentation that they want to make at ECC and get feedback on it. So that's the basic idea. So that category is a one-time thing, be done at the end of ECC. Basically, just do 2 of these events. But the other one would be kind of an ongoing thing, where we would see how it works, and if it works over time, we might expand our participation, the role we actually play in organizing, and maybe even opening them up for TEC community members as well. So that's the basic explanation. Let me see if anybody has any questions or comments.
Well, we've chatted about this a bit already, with me, but yeah, I think no question, we should jump into it. Um, it's both good for us, but also helps the academy, which it's a very important project, team, people for us. Um, I guess my only ask, or just to handle expectations around this, would be to, if we do these events, to have them be our events as well, if that makes sense. Not just be on the background, and trying to, maybe it doesn't make sense, or maybe it does, but you know with time, especially if the line between the academy and the TC is going to somehow disappear a bit. um yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining myself. Just move the events to the point where they are our events as well, and we are just not being sort of subcontracted by the academy, something like that. Other than that, I think it's great.
Yeah, let me just address that real quick. Yeah, that's a really good point. And a couple just quick things on that. One of the things that is worth pointing out is that the speakers at ECC, it would be good to actually have encourage some of the people who submitted who actually got grants, who participated in our grant making program, to actually be presenters. So in a way, kind of positioning this as another way that, just like participating in the Shelling Point initiative, like in having a space on our server, is kind of one of the benefits of being one of our grantees. This would be another one, right? And Angela's she was like, yeah, that would be, that's great. So, and I would be, yeah, I think she'd be very open. I mean, having it be kind of like a joint thing, a joint effort. Nate, sound like did you have something you want to say?
Oh no, I just wanted to say that I think it's a really good opportunity for us to kind of integrate closer to the TEA and to kind of just, hey, this is our first coordination point with them in terms of having this type of joint collaboration on a particular event. So I think it's just a good process to go through, and I think our focus collectively should be on this and be coming closer with the people that are making things happen at the TEA, and just kind of build relationships, and that's for every single one of us. And I think that's going to be a really important priority and part of this that is not within any actionable items. It's just kind of let's get closer, meet more, talk more, yeah, and integrate our processes.
Yeah, agreed. Does anybody else have any other thoughts or questions about this? Okay. Well, one thing I was talking with Isaac about this on our call, and one of the things we were thinking is that it might make sense to kind of break this project up into two kind of roles or two areas of responsibility. One would be actually hosting the events and kind of like, be almost like the Twitter space stuff, right? It's like basically acting as host, recording, things like that. And then the other is doing kind of more of the upfront work of outreach and coordinating and organizing events. Those could be the same person, but I think if we're going to try to share the load a little bit, spread the load out, it might make sense to break that out into two people. So
yeah,
interested in people's
I
thoughts.
also just wanted to add that if you go to the personal and project views, I set up kind of a pseudo sprint board for the TEA events to just kind of think about how it would be organized. But feel free to modify it or edit it in any way. No, the filters didn't stick. Just click the filter for project and then just event.
Yeah, that's great. So that's great. Thank you. So I think the question is, one, we should follow up with Angela. They have a recurring meeting that they have on Tuesdays, but it's pretty early, our time, or your time, Nate. It's very early. So I think that would be the first thing would be to follow up with them and just confirm, yeah, we want to do this, and try to find a way to do that. And then I guess the question is, Nate, it sounds like you're interested in driving this. Is that true? Or would you like help with like doing? I mean, you've done the.
It really.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, it just really depends on like exactly what the scope of it is. It's something that's just I think that it needs to, really, because I mean I'm not exactly sure what the vision is for this. Is it just going to be a couple events? How many speakers do we have? Because if it's just kind of a smaller thing, or if we're trying to make this into kind of a recurring initiative along with the TEA, I think it's a different approach. But yeah, I think just I think there are different areas where we can plug in like communications, like promoting it, making sure that we have like the best outcomes. But yeah, I'm willing to drive it. But yeah, I'm just not sure where the priorities are.
And I was going to add, definitely willing to support Nate so that it's not only Nate that's taking the charge. So we can be like if you take one end, I take the other type thing. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think that to answer your question, Nate, the ETHCC thing has an end date, right? So like by the by the end of July, by there would probably be some wrap up after ETHCC where we might be involved, but like pretty much by the end of July, that part would be done. The ongoing events part, the that if we like doing that and the academy thinks we're doing a good job at that, I could see that continuing, pretty easily continuing, because I think that's capacity that we have that they don't necessarily have right now, like stretched. We are too, but this I could see fitting into kind of a skill set that keep around community organizing. So I think I wrote this up in the project prospectus, but I think one of the keys for us figuring out how to make this really sustainable so that it's not super labor intensive for us to run all the time. Figuring out how we run the recordings, how we do transcripts very efficiently, maybe even there's some software out there that we could use. YFCJ uses called Phantom that does the transcripts, but also uses GPT to summarize it. So there may be some ways to actually use software, kind of like have like some infrastructure that we just run. We would need people to do it, but like try to automate as much as possible. So that we just have like some nice capacity can use to help the academy, but also to help the AI project once that gets up and running, and just to help anybody, any of the SPI participants, people who are various interest groups or study research groups. It's kind of like one of our offerings. So how about this, Nate? Do you want to maybe just set up a chat with you, me, Angela, and I think Joseph. If anybody else is interested, you can just let Nate know, and then maybe just set that up and let her know that we're interested, and then maybe set up a time to follow up. To like basically get a coordination meeting going. Does that sound okay? Oh, Nate, did you drop out for a sec there? Nate?
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I got kicked there for a second.
Okay. Basically, what I was saying is, my recommendation would be for you to set up a group chat with you, me, Angela, and maybe include Joseph, and if anybody else is interested, include that. And I think the main thing is just to be able to get back to her so that she knows that we're here and able to do it, so she doesn't have to start pulling together some other resources. That's the main thing she's trying to figure out, is uncover that. So I think if we can do it, that's great, and we should just put it onto our next sprint and try to lock down exactly what involved, but get back to her in the next day or so.
Okay, yeah, and that sounds good. Actually, the one thing that I didn't fully understand was the first type of event, the kind of the recurring ad hoc events. I know that the focus probably will be, everything up to ECC, but yeah, having kind of a scope for the first type of event that she was wanting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the date for that one. Like, there's nothing that we can really do on that. That's on this Thursday. That's the day after tomorrow. So, like, there's nothing we're going to be able to do for that one. So we'll have to just check and see if she's got any more. I know she had something else, but I don't think it's been scheduled yet. So, yeah, I think that's just part of the conversation with her. is, my assumption also is that Barcamp is the top priority just because, the timing. But I think that's best to just confirm with her.
That sounds good. And in terms of, really focusing on this and following through with this initiative, should we also be exploring other avenues of kind of integrating and kind of moving our efforts closer together that we should be exploring?
Yes, but let's do this one. Let's do this one really well first, and as like a first step, and then we will definitely be. There's going to be many fronts. The AI project is going to be where a lot of stuff is. But I think this is. I think we're going to see that the AI thing will be where there'll be a lot of opportunities to compete. This will be like a natural place for a lot of collaboration to happen.
Yeah, I just think we probably would need to move. I think we are kind of set with events. Seems like we are going to take on the bar camp at least, and then for the ongoing, we'll just see how how everything goes. I I guess that we're going to take on them anyways, but just to just to be clear with everything. And so you, Gideon, and Nate are going to be in touch with Angela to coordinate all of these, and then just we'll see how do we actually distribute the work, right? Okay, cool. Then we can move on to the compensation model. I think it's an I'm just trying to be more mindful of time because we don't have as many meetings now, so if you bear wanna take it.
Yeah, thank you, Isaac. Maybe if you could just go into a task that it's, I don't remember if it's like figuring out compensation model or something like that. I just attached there a quick diagram that I drafted to try to explain the model in a really simple and graphic way. I think that could help. Yeah, let's just see. It's that one. Okay, nice. Yeah, so well, this is a conversation that we've all been having for a long time, and we've constantly been trying to iterate and come up with different alternatives that fit our work and our needs. And we still haven't been able to fully found it. But I think this model can really help us get closer to that. And with what I mean is, trying to find this balance between simplicity, something really simple, a simple model that we can implement that doesn't require too much overhead on any front. And at the same time, that still has the possibility to incentivize members to work better, to contribute into their best of their capacities, and also in a way become a mechanism to signal. You can signal good work, proper work, but also lack of work, or lack of commitment. So trying to come up with a model that covered these two kind of like approaches was my focus. And I came up with this. First of all, it's kind of like defining the two groups of people that we can say are part of these calls and are part of the different work streams that we currently have in the DAO in a way. The one of them is the coordination team members and the active contributors. I think it's important to understand these two groups first. And to do that, this is where it relates with who we are documents that I've also been drafting. so we are able to better understand the definition of the coordination team members, and as a consequence of where the boundaries and the limits are with the active contributors. So coordination team members are usually people that um, have been here in the community for more time, that have proven certain commitment and certain work to the DAO, and as are putting much more time into the work, more a greater time commitment than the active contributors that could be either newly people recently joining the DAO, or people that might not have much time to spend on contributing directly. So, having said this and having defined these two groups, we can then jump into the compensation side of things. That is pretty simple. It's made out of two components, one of them being fixed, one of them being variable. On the side of the coordination team members, the fixed component comes from, quote unquote, salary or base pay that is based from the coordinator job position that we could call. Numbers are still yet to be defined, but this is just kind of like the overall framework of the model. So that comes from there. That's the same pay for all the coordinators. That doesn't change. That is recurring month after month. And then on the side of the active contributors, there is also a fixed component that this comes from the roles that we currently have set up with their corresponding compensation amounts based on an estimate of hours per month. So, for example, just to give an example, I know Joseph has the greeter role. So that role has a certain number of hours attached to it on a monthly basis, and that's a fixed amount or a fixed compensation that he is able to receive. So these are kind of like two fixed components for these groups. And then we have the variable component, that what I'm proposing is to have it be defined by the use of the Coordinate platform. That, I don't know if everyone is familiar with it, but it's basically just a protocol that allows you to allocate based on kind of like a personal perception of the work of your peers, the personal perception of their commitment and their overall work throughout a specific period of time. Based on that, you're able to allocate a token that doesn't have any value. It just plays the role of a vote that at the end serves for the platform to come up with a different percentage allocation, with different percentages, to have a pool of funds distributed across the team or across the individual participating in this dynamic, right? So the idea is that the people that are actively contributing, either from the coordination team or as an active contributor, have the possibility to participate in this initiative and have some sort of variable component to their compensation delivered through Coordinate. I think it's a really novel tool, really innovative, that a lot of other DAOs and groups in the Web3 space are using. So I think it would be worth to give it a try and see how that goes. I think this tool will be the one that will allow us to again be able to have a way to incentivize people to make compensation more fair and in accordance to the commitment and work that everyone is putting in. As well as to signal, be a really good signal of the different dynamics, either positive or negative, that start, going on across the team and contributors. And that's basically it in a nutshell. That's the compensation model. Pretty straightforward. Again, the amounts, I think, are still yet to be properly defined for the coordinator job position amount, as well as for the Coordinate funding pool. The role-based compensation, that's already kind of defined based on the roles. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. I've shared this model already with a couple of you in the call, but I'd be really interested in listening to anybody else's opinions or thoughts on this.
I think, well, I just want to say fantastic work. I know this probably took a lot of research and coordination and things like that. I think for me, I think I understand it, but because I'm more of a practical person, I think once we kind of go through it and, like, let's say go through one iteration of it once, then I'll fully able to understand and get everything that this model entails, and then be able to kind of give feedback to what I think which does really well, and my opinions of if I feel something should be changed.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, a really important point that I forgot to mention. Yeah, at the end of the day, as we know, this is not at all set in stone. This is to be perfected throughout time, and we are completely, or we should remain completely open and flexible to adjust and adapt and change things throughout the way. But at the same time, I think it's just a simple and good place to start, starting with this. So yeah, if Joseph or anybody else has any other questions, maybe not now, but in the coming days about it, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we can clarify and work through it.
I mean, I can say that what I like most about the solution that you've found there is that it allows, it has the fixed and variable portions, so that there is an expectation every month that will be met, and then the variable is the perception of the performance by the members of the team that you're working with. So it's more of based on how your team members perceive your contribution that month. I think it's a really elegant solution.
I've tried Coordinape and it is a really cool thing. So I think it'll be a good addition.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think your input, Marathon Mind, in because I think the use of Coordinate, it's also going to be an experience for everyone. I've never used it, and I think most of the people here haven't used it either, but we've heard of it. So I know that within the use of Coordinate, there are a lot of tips and tricks to be considered, different dynamics within the team that could emerge, and that will be important that everyone's pay attention to that, right? And that we keep close attention and taking notes on all of those on that experience that we start having, that so we can then readjust right throughout time. So yeah, I think that's basically for me. This kind of like relates, and I can jump in the last 2 minutes that we have pretty quickly to this idea of the who we are document that is basically done. So more than going through it again or anything like that, this would be more of an open question in terms of an ask to the team or to someone that knows a little bit more about it. I might reach out directly to Rex. I feel that he might know, or maybe you, Isaac, also have a good idea on the how. And I mean on the actual signing of the agreement that it's stated in that page. I think that would be a really good next step for the team to take on to formalize all of this, all the responsibilities and these positions. And I would like to do it, on chain, right? I've known that the academy did this for some of their documents. So maybe this is also a good idea to ask them directly on some guidance on how to do it. I don't have that technical knowledge on how to sign something on change, but I think that would be a really good next step that we might that we could maybe include for the next sprint, I think.
Bear, I've got we did something for the planning around the TEA and the TEC collaboration. So I can show you how to do that. It's pretty simple. And the other thing I just want to say is really nice job on this. You have been working so hard on this, and you've invested a lot of time. And I think the simplicity of this and the fact that you're able to do the fixed and the variable portions of this and make sure that we build in some accountability, the compensation model, it's really great. So congratulations. I mean, nice job on this. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Gideon. Yeah. I'll reach out to you then. We can talk more about this. So yeah, thank you everyone. Yeah, also again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Right. Sounds good. I do have a hard stop now because I have to go to another meeting. But thanks everyone, and see all this going. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.